Well, hi everybody, it's Sandy and welcome back to another video. I'm calling this an unforgettable belated birthday card, not because I'm stellar and make unforgettable cards, but this stamp set is called Unforgettable and it's from W+9 and it's so darling. I love elephants and I have a thing for them. See my blog for a picture that I drew of some and the story behind it, but the sentiment, you are absolutely unforgettable. It's your birthday that's hard to remember, and the sorry I forgot are probably going to continue to be a big part of my life because I seem to get the whole idea of writing down birthdays and making the birthday card. I just don't seem to get them mailed. I don't know what my problem is. You would think after all these years I could get a handle on it, but I have a new plan. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you my new system, and we're going to see by the end of the year if I got my birthday cards out on time. But in the meantime, back to this stamp set. It comes with, if you purchase them, a set of dies, and they come on magnetic material. I buy these sheets of magnetic material at Ellen Hudson, but when you get this W+9 set, you get the magnetics with it. And I like how they keep all the dies together in a little group, and then all I have to do is throw that whole little packaging piece into my stamp pocket, and I keep them in the back of the set so that they stay together. This is brand new one, so I don't have my label on it. I usually put a label on the corner of it. And another thing that I do, just a little tip for you, if you get stamps that have the two sheets of plastic but they're detached, I've started to just put a little piece of tape on it to hold them together, because then I don't lose that other sheet. I keep losing the other sheet, and then my insert gets all dirty in my stamp pocket. So let's get started on the card. I have wanted to do one of these kind of off-kilter, off the corner types of cards for a long time, but I do so many backgrounds that I don't end up able to fit it on when I start turning the cardstock to trim it this way. So what I did instead was try to trim it before I do it so I can get my sentiment stamped on straight and my image done straight. So I have a right angle in the left corner and then a different right angle in the right corner, and I've already cut my layer so that that's ready to go as well. And this is Hero Arts layering paper, and I like it because I can do my top fold cards that I like to do for my personal cards and just cut a sheet of the 8.5/11, and this way I have a dark card base but I don't have to put a liner in it because the Hero Arts layering paper is only on one side. It's also printed. It's not like in the paper, so that means it just has a really smooth texture to it because it's just printed ink. Alrighty, let's get started with the stamping. Here I'm lining up my sentiment so it's horizontal to the bottom of the card because I want it to still read correctly. I don't want it to read kind of crookedy. And then I've got my little elephant here. I don't know if he's supposed to only be peeking over something and hanging down from his feet, but I wanted to make him so his little feet are hanging up in the air and he's kind of standing on his front little legs because I think that's just so cute. And I'm adding ground just under the unforgettable word. So he's kind of interacting with the sentiment, and it separates that second part of the sentiment out, so I think it's going to read a little easier as well when somebody gets the card. Hopefully I won't have to send this. Hopefully I'm going to be sending cards on time this year. That is a goal for 2015. So the balloon I've stamped on there, you can twist that tail on the balloon any old way you want. If you leave it in the format that the balloon comes in, the natural curve of it, there's a die that goes with it, just so you know. And then I'm just stamping a couple of the other images, the grass, the little hat, and I was putting some stars down at the bottom. I thought about making party rubble, so you know he's kind of late to the party down there, and I decided just a couple stars down there would be a nice little touch without being too over party-ish, because one of my original thoughts was to just add a whole bunch of party hats, like he's just kind of he's partying way late, but he's so cute. I decided to, as I'm beginning my coloring, I'm doing something I don't normally do, which is I already have these papers chosen, so I'm going to try to match the colors that I'm coloring with to the papers I'm going to be using. I usually go the opposite, and then I try to find something that sort of matches. So instead I'm going to go the opposite direction, and that's pool. So I'm going to use the BG family to create this pool color. And BG10 is a really nice light blue-green. BG11, just so you know, I would recommend getting BG10 instead of 11 because the 11 for some reason is kind of grayish. It's a little weird that one step up from the BG10 ends up being gray, because the BG13, which is one of the next in the series, just goes right back to being a happy little blue-green color. So I don't know why that happens, it just does. And also the BG13 and BG15, who are also in that family, have the reverse color on their caps. So the cap for BG13 is darker than the cap for BG15, and it shouldn't be, and it is. And I know it's a pet peeve for a lot of people, but you know, as long as you know what the marker color is, you're good to go, right? So I've added my shadows and my midtones, and then I'm going to go back in with my light color again. I was trying to figure out how dark I wanted this little guy to be, whether I just wanted his shadows to match the pool paper or if I wanted the whole elephant to be that color. And I just kept going back and forth in my mind trying to decide. And one of the things that I do when I can't decide is to put down a bunch of color and then let it sit for a bit. And it's both sitting in my mind as I'm pondering what I want to do, and then I look at other images that I'm coloring on that card and kind of wait and see what the other images turn out to be if I need to add more color to it. And here I already had decided I wanted it at least a little bit darker than the BG10, so I'm using the tip-to-tip technique. You can take a light marker and touch it to the tip of the other darker color and create kind of a color in between. So I wanted to soften that and add a little bit more strength to that color. I didn't quite want to go with the BG11. Again, it's a grayish kind of a BG. Don't really want to gray it out, but I decided that tip-to-tip would work a little bit better in this particular case especially. So I did a little bit more fussing with it with my BG23, and then, you know, adding just a little bit more color in here. Not quite sure where I wanted to go. But also if I continue working on this, it's going to start bleeding out underneath of the edges of the stamped image. It's already doing that in a few spots. And if you let it dry for a little bit and then come back to it, then you're adding moisture into dry paper instead of adding it into a wet paper. And sometimes that will help to eliminate a little bit of the bleeding. The B2 family is what I chose for the balloon because that'll match that nice dark blue. And I'm using the B21 for the light, the 2.6 for the dark. I'm just kind of putting a couple of sections in there of the dark color. With balloons, it's really hard to say this is how you color a balloon. There's a million different highlights and shadows that will fall on every balloon depending on what they're next to because they reflect light so much. The one commonality that I would suggest would be to just leave a lighter area around the outside edge of any balloon, because that tends to make it look like there's at least light falling on it from outside of itself. And then leave a highlight area of some sort, whatever that might be. Now here I've kind of accidentally created something that looks like a lumpy balloon. If you squint at it, it looks like it's got two lumps in it and it's not a round one. So I just went in with my dark and added a little more at the bottom so it's kind of coming up from where that knot is in the balloon, and then smoothing it out a little bit with the B21. And on some of the areas that I went a little bit too close to the edge, so I can fix that. I have my Copic original 0 marker. The original body is the square one and it has this nice bullet nib, which is great for dots, but it's also great for going into a little tiny area like this. I can push that color back just a little bit by adding a little bit of that 0 marker around there to recreate that highlight that I covered up. And here's where I decided, okay, fine, I'm going for it, and I just did a quick coat of the BG23, which was the mid-tone, right over top of everything. And if I don't fuss with it too much, I don't end up with blending issues. But if you go over and over and over and over, you're going to end up with the whole thing looking like one color, and you just want to stay away from doing that. So now I'm going to quickly color in all the other parts of the image, and I wanted to add a little bit different color for the ground. So I just used my YGs to put a little wash of color down below. I didn't want to get too crazy with putting a whole lot down there, and needed something that would pop on this and would really draw some attention down to the sentiment at the bottom section. And I'm adding my blue color to the hat And then all that's left is going to be to add a little bit of background color around this, partially because my little foot there started bleeding and I ended up with a little bit of color outside. I could have gone in with my zero marker and fixed it, but I decided I wanted just a little bit of a glow around him. You can do just a line, but since I had that sentiment off to the left-hand side, I didn't want to do a line all the way around all of that as well. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do a really light wash with a very, very light B0000. Now, you may notice that the B triple zeros and quadruple zeros will sometimes pull a little bit of your color or soften out your stamping. So even though this is Memento ink and it's supposed to be Copic safe, any of the super light colors can sometimes cause that. So if you're getting that kind of thing on your images, that could be why. So I'm using a Copic multi-liner. This is one of the SP multi-liners, and it clearly is needing some re-inking because it's starting to run out on me. So this is one of the re-inkables. I'm going to do a whole video soon on how to re-ink those and how to replace nibs and stuff, because I have a full set on order. I only have a couple of the pens, and I ordered the whole set so I can explore what they do, how they work, and what you might need to do if you are a doodler and you want to get some of these pens. So I just added a few little lines to make it look like he's jiggling around. And here I also added, in the finished card, I added a little bit of Signo pen and just put some dots on my little elephant so he could be a little polka dotted elephant, which I think makes him so adorable. And yeah, super simple card, and I had my design ahead of time, which made the assembly that much easier. Alrighty, I promised you a look at my new system, and what I have done is taken all of my birthdays from my birthday calendar and put them, I put the addresses already on envelopes. I think that's one of my sticky points, that I don't feel like finding an envelope, looking up the address, etc. So I have sticky notes with the dates on them, and then as I finish them, I can put them to the back, and I make a new envelope every time I send one, so I can put that sticky note on a new envelope and have them ready for next time. And then I have all my cards with a sentiment divider in between them, so I can keep an eye on how many sympathy cards that I need to make, how many thank you cards I need to add to my stash, etc. Alrighty, here are 2 more of my W+9 videos that I've done if you want to check those out, W+9 fans. And be sure to subscribe so you can come back and see my next video, which will be all about stamp and die organization, as well as a big giveaway. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.